Hello everyone, welcome to OdinSchool. In this class, we are going to learn about a very important technology, MS Excel. This class is all about getting started with MS Excel. What are the components of the particular technology of this particular tool, and how can we put in all those components into use in a real-time scenario? This particular technology is going to be very vital irrespective of whatever roles that you are going to do in the IT industry. IT industry is it cannot actually function without MS Excel. This is that important tool. Even though you might think that this tool is downplayed a little bit, but in real time, without knowing MS Excel, it is literally very tough to survive or to perform an operation completely. Now, first let's understand why learn MS Excel. Now, most one of the most widely technology in the IT industry is MS Office products only. Even in MS Office products, the most important tools are Excel and PowerPoint. Without Excel and PowerPoint, a project cannot complete on its own. So learning MS Excel is very vital because almost all the present data that we have in the world is present in the format of a spreadsheet. Excel is the best technology for handling data that is in the spreadsheet format. We will see what is a spreadsheet and all those things. But Excel offers multiple powerful functions and operations that can be done without doing any programming in it. All these operations that we are going to do in Excel can be done in a programming language also, but you need to know a programming language to do certain tasks. Whereas using an Excel, you can directly just know the function and the arguments that a function requires and directly start working on it. So it is really essential that we keep we keep up to the market of IT industry where the prominent tool is being Excel. So we have to use Excel in order to achieve this particular task. With that said, what I'll do is I'll simply start with the introduction of OdinSchool and about myself. OdinSchool is a technology upskilling platform. They help us continuously acquire new skills. Their motto is to stay ahead and stay skilled. Talking about me, I'm Gautam Kumar Jayachandran. I have 6 years of experience as working as a senior data scientist. I work in several technologies, starting from Excel, SQL, Python, Tableau, Power BI, Alteryx, and machine learning. Have worked in several domains as well, recruitment, retail, and finance. So with that said, let's jump into today's agenda. Today's agenda is all about learning or understanding what is a column, what is a row, what is a cell, what is a ribbon, and in ribbon, what are the components that we use most frequently, what are the different data types that are present in Excel, and how do we format them with the help of functions, or if I wanted to format it directly, how will I do it? First, let's understand what is Excel. Excel is a spreadsheet application, as simple as that. A spreadsheet is simply nothing but a form of matrix. I'll explain what is a form of matrix also. Let's take a whiteboard. What is a matrix? A matrix is simply nothing but a place where we will have all our information in the form of rows and columns. So in this case, this is my row 1, this is my row 2. Talking about columns, this will be my column 1 and this will be my column 2. So anything that is in the format of matrix, basically rows into columns, that is the idea behind matrix. Anything that is in the format of rows into columns becomes matrix. Matrix, if you put it in a tool, it becomes a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet is the representation of matrix in real time. So my Excel is simply nothing but an application which takes care of performing operations inside a spreadsheet where the data is stored in the matrix format. The data can be two-dimensional because we have one dimension row, another dimension column. It cannot be three-dimensional. It can be only two-dimensional. Two-dimensional application. Rows will be one dimension and columns will be another dimension. Yeah, this is the idea behind spreadsheet. Okay, let's minimize this and go back to the concept here. Excel. Talking about Excel, as I told you, it is basically a spreadsheet application that is used to record and analyze numerical data. Now, if you think the role of a computer, the role of a computer is as exact as what it is, in the first place it was instantiated. Now, in the first place, when the computer was invented, it was invented for only one particular operation, which is basically calculating things. Computer was simply nothing but an electronic calculator when it was invented. Over the period of evolution, it actually performs one more step. Even though you think there are multiple things that the computer can perform, in the back end, the computer can do only two things. One, it can store data for us. Second, it can perform calculations for us. Excel isn't just a replica of what that particular operations can do also. In Excel, we can store data, we can perform calculations on top of the stored data. That is what we are going to do. A spreadsheet is a collection of columns and rows that form a table. What are tables? Rows and columns. Letters are usually assigned to denote columns and numbers are assigned to denote rows. I'll show this with an example. The point where a column and a row meet is called as cell. Now let's open an Excel and understand how the data is distributed here, or how an Excel looks. Let me take an example of, see here, this is my first column. Columns are always denoted by alphabetic characters in it. You have 16,000 plus columns in Excel. In total, you have 16,000 plus columns. This is first column, this is second column, third column, fourth column, and so on. Talking about rows, see here, rows are denoted by numbers, which basically starts with 1. You can accommodate up to 10 lakh change observation, 10 lakh 64,000 change rows are present in Excel. So each line item here is a row, each line item on the top becomes column. The point where both my column and column and cell row intersect, basically A1, this becomes my cell. This A1 becomes my cell. Let me minimize this. This blue line item is basically called as a cell. Cell is basically the point where a row and column intersects, also where your active cursor is present. Now let me keep this, but if I ask the machine to give the cursor here, see here, this green box appears, right? This is the active cell. If you do not know the address of the active cell, see here, at this place you will be given the address where the current active cell is there. It is present in the column D and in the row 6. It always starts with the column identity. It will always, the first thing here is column and the second thing is here is rows. It says in the D column, it is present in the first row, the active cell. It is now present in the fifth row of the D column. Okay, let's count the number of columns that we have and number of rows that we have. Now what I'll do is I'll simply assign numbers to all the columns. There's a shortcut, I'm going to use that in order to fill this, but we will see this how to do this autofilling, all those things later. Here, see here, it gives me 16,384 columns are there in Excel. This is the 2016 version that I'm using. In number of columns we have is 16,834. Talking about rows, let's go to the last row. See here, 10,48,656 rows can be accommodated. 10 lakh 48,656, 576. Okay, these many rows and these many columns are there in the in your Excel. Okay, it can accommodate so much of data. Now if I wanted to know how many cells are there in the total spreadsheet, this is only one worksheet. Okay, what we are doing here is only one worksheet. This is sheet 1. I can add n number of sheets as I wanted to add, but in this case I'm just going to keep working with only one sheet just for a reference. But having multiple sheets make this workbook. Now this is worksheet. What you are seeing here is worksheet, where you are writing or storing data or performing calculations. If you have multiple sheets and save this file, when you're saving this becomes a workbook. Workbook is simply nothing but is a file which contains multiple worksheets. A worksheet is simply nothing but one Excel sheet where we have 16,000 row columns and 10 lakh change rows, right? If I wanted to know how many cells or how many data points can be stored in this, it is basically multiply the number of columns with number of rows. These many cells are there, these many records can be stored in this Excel file. This is something that I can't even read how much is this. It is definitely more than a billion. So more than a billion records we can actually store inside only one worksheet. There is no restriction to how many worksheets you wanted to create inside a workbook. So you can create as many as workbooks you want, worksheets, and save the files. You can store the data and you can process the information accordingly. Right? This is the idea behind getting started. Columns, rows, formula bars and cells. We have seen columns and rows and cells also. Let's see what is a formula bar. See here, this is your formula bar. Here, if I keep my active cell here, it tells me what is the value in it. Now say for an example, I work in a formula. I'm writing some formula here. Sum if this and my criteria is this and my sum range is this. I'm writing a formula. See here, all my formula can be seen in this particular case. Here it will show you the values only. After performing after writing a formula, it gives me the values on output here. To give a simple formula, I'll simply add everything here. Okay, here I am seeing the values only, but I do not know what is the formula that is there in the back end of this particular cell. So in the formula bar, it will tell you what is the formula that is used to derive this output. So this becomes my formula bar, where you can see the formula and which is supporting this value from the back end. That is what a formula bar does. Then we have ribbon. Okay, this is the most important one. Ribbon. Talking about ribbon is simply nothing but the number of options that we have home page, we have insert page, we have page layout, we have formulas bar, we have data pane, we have review pane, view pane, developer help, and power pivot. You can add as many dimensions to this as you want by using add-ins, but in this case, if I wanted to explain the most important ones, we are going to learn about, let me take the smallest circle, square possible. We are going to use cut copy formatting a lot. Cut copy paste is one of the most important and vital operation that we will do. Then if I wanted to format the font or the text that I have or the numbers, I can use this particular pane for formatting. Then talking about this piece is purely for alignment. This also comes into alignment only, merging and center, and wrapping and center. This is in terms of dealing with data types. So if we have several data types, how are we going to use it? And here this is purely for conditional formatting and elements to it. Here we will format how we wanted to look at the data inside the cell. Here we have shortcuts for several basic operations like auto sum, filling values, sorting and filtering, finding and selecting. Now let me write a header to each and everything. Now this is purely for cut, copy, paste. Okay, let me just remove, cut, copy, paste. I think it is not visible there. Let me change the color. That didn't work. Okay. Basically, it helps you to perform cut, copy, paste. As I told you, here this is for texting, changing the format of the text. Here we will use how to show the text inside the cell. If I wanted to increase the size of the cell in terms of width as well as height, how can I do it? And then we also have you know, alignment operations that can be done via home page. Now talking about um, insert section. In insert section we are going to deal with most important ones, which is pivot table and operations and charts. These are the two important aspects that we are going to learn in this insert page. We will see what is a pivot table, what is a pivot chart, and all the other things, how to create normal charts, how to create custom charts, and all the other things here in this insert pane. Talking about page layout, in page layout, this is a place where we choose what should be the background color. If I wanted to see the print area, all those things, we can use this, but we will use this a very little. Talking about formulas pane, we will be writing formulas rather than picking formulas from this. But if you are a beginner in Excel, if you want to identify or take a formula from the Excel tool itself and take the help of it, say for an example, I wanted to do an index formula, it directly writes the index function there, and then it will ask you to perform supply values. But we will be writing formulas directly here. We will not be using this because this will consume time when we are going to work in Excel. Excel is all about efficiency, how fast you can perform operations in the spreadsheet format. We will be using a lot of shortcuts in Excel. Mostly I'll not even touch the mouse when we are working with Excel. When I'm working with Excel, it is all about using keyboard to achieve tasks in Excel. The more keyboard you use, the more better it is for you in Excel. Talking about data, here we will use two important things: text to columns, where we will be separating data basis a delimiter. Then we will be using remove duplicates option, where we will be removing all the duplicates present in the data. These are two things that we will use. We will also use sorting option. Filter option is already available in home page, so we will not be using it here. We will be rather using it from the home page. Talking about review, in review what we have is, if I wanted to perform a spell check operation, I can do this. Or if I wanted to protect the sheet, I can use it by specifying this particular function and specify a password out to it. Talking about view operator, here it is all about if I wanted to see the grid lines or not. If I remove the grid lines, it becomes white. See here, there are no grid lines for each and every cell here. If I wanted to see the formula bar or not, if I wanted to see the headings or not, and if I wanted to zoom in or zoom out, all those things can be used. Developer is for VBA, basically for writing macros and things, and help is to help you understand if you have any issues in it. Power Pivot and Power Query is for Power BI. So in the interest of scope, I'll focus only on ribbon or elements or components that are important for us to perform operations in Excel. That is what we are going to learn or do in this particular exercise. First thing, data types. Okay, there are several data types that Excel offers. First one is basically an integer, whole number. We have float, numbers with decimals. Then we have text, basically characters or alphabets in layman's term. Then we have percentage, gives you percentage. Then we have date, gives you date. I can just use date. Then we have time, we can have time also. Then we have accounting. Accounting is a data type where it is purely numbers only, but you can You can have certain different operations coming from both integers and float. That is what an accounting can do in terms of this. If you do not know what are the other data types, okay, currency is also a data type in by Excel. Currency is basically USD, INR, all those things. Then if I see general, okay, general is also there, but general is not a data type. It is something that we use to specify a particular format using custom. If I talk about scientific is there, scientific is there. If I wanted to specify a value 10 to the power of e minus 10, it becomes scientific. Okay, exponential values. Here I can see what are the other data types: time, date, accounting, currency, number, text. Yes, and we can have custom format also. Here we can customize the data type according to our need for all the data types here. I can customize my integer, I can customize my floating numbers, I can customize my text and all the other things. These data types, knowing data types in Excel is very, very important. The shortcut to create or see the data types is basically control plus 1. If I use control plus 1, it actually gives me the pop-up where I can actually see all the data types and format it. So here, general, number, currency, accounting, date, time, percentage, fraction. Fraction is basically dividing the numbers basis your requirements. And scientific, text, special and custom. Special is also there is no defined data type. You can choose a particular data type as we wanted to have. Now let me give an example for everything. Integer is 10, float is 10.5, text is what I would say OdinSchool, percentage 0.6. Let me just convert this into percentage. Okay. I'll tell you how to convert this into percentage. For now, I'll directly write percentage. Date we have already given, time also we have given, numbers accounting. For 0, it will give you hyphen. Whereas for 0, numbers normally will give 0, but accounting will give hyphen. USD, I can say dollars. Scientific is exponential basically. Then customize, we can change the data types as and when required. So these are the most important data types. We will be dealing with all the data types in real time, because in Excel we will have almost all the data types as data given to us. So we will be taking the help of this data types understanding and put into use case. Decimal number, boolean. Yes, boolean, I forgot. Boolean is basically only two things: true or false. So it can be either true or false. Text, date, currency, not available, and percentage. Formatting. Let's see how to format things in Excel. Let me just delete everything here. How do I perform formatting operations? Now I'll show you how to create a table first. How to create a table as in how you supply values and how will you format it properly. Now I'm going to take some data which is completely unformatted in nature. In order to do some formatting, what we can do is we can actually take the help of the amazing functionalities in Excel and format this nicely. Formatting data is very, very important because the consumer will not be able to understand the data unless or until it is formatted properly. Let me show you the data here. See here, it has 4 columns and looks like it has 5 rows, but this is not in a very readable format. I am going to paste this information directly into my Excel. See here, I have pasted this directly, but it did not go as per my plan because I've already changed the data types here. I'm just going to keep everything general. and then paste it here. I have my information here. Now it doesn't look so good. I don't want it to see the grid lines in the first place. So what I'll do is I'll go to view pane, remove the grid lines. Now it looks plain and good. But again, I'm not understanding why A is in the left, B is in the left, and C is in the left. Now the key understanding is whenever you are working on text, it will be defaultly left aligned. By default, it will be left aligned. Numbers by default will be right aligned. These are default properties of Excel. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll select everything. I wanted to make sure that it looks like a table. In this case, I'll go to the borders option, choose all borders. Okay, now it looks like a table, but it is not formatted properly. First, I wanted to make sure that these are headers. I'll change ABCD into something. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Salesforce. Okay. Now what I'll do is see here alignment. I can keep this in center alignment. I can keep this in middle alignment. I am going to keep this center. Now my headers have come into the middle, but my values are not in the middle. So again, I'll choose the values and choose the center option. Now it looks like all the values are aligned in the middle of each and every column. Here, what I'll do is I'll choose the entire column here, bold it so that it looks like a header. But this is not enough. I wanted to make sure that it stands out. So what I'll do is I will change the color of the background here. I'll keep lighter background and a darker text which is in black to understand this. I did not like this formatting. So what I'll do is I will keep my background in the darkest color possible. Okay. I wanted to keep it in dark blue. I'll choose this, I think. I'll choose the dark blue color here, but my text is in black. See here, my text is in black by default, so it is not readable. So what I'll do is I'll choose the text color here. Automatically it will pick black, but I'm going to change this into white so that it will stand out. All my values are automatically aligned here and it looks like a table for me. If I wanted to perform an operation, sum of sales in, I'll create a list. We'll talk about how to create a list and all the other things in a later part of the class. But here I'm just going to show it in a very formatted way. Yeah. So first I'm going to choose Apple. I'll simply say total sales in Apple. Yeah, let me auto format this. I'm just adjusting the width so it will look good when we are seeing the data in it. Now I wanted to format this just like how I have it here. So in this case, what I'll do is I will choose format painter. I don't want it to do the same exercise like adding a border, aligning it in the center, changing the background color and doing things. I can simply choose the Apple thing which is already formatted, choose the format painter option here and then simply paint it. By painting it, what happens is it becomes exactly like how we have it here. Now I will be able to change MS, I will be able to say change Google, I will be able to change Salesforce. It will say total sales in this one. I'll also format total sales. So it will directly say total sales in a particular company. Say for an example, Apple. What will be the value here? To show the total sales differently, I will border this in a thick outside border. I'll choose thick outside border so I can show the values of this particular company. I'm going to write a formula here. We will talk about how to write this formula and retrieve an output out of this in the next class. But here I'm just performing an operation and showing you how can we store the data and access the values by performing a calculation. Here I wanted to know what is the total sales done by Apple, total sales done by Microsoft, total sales done by Google or Salesforce. Now sum if my range is basically this and I wanted to perform criteria range here, and then I'll do this. It gives me a wrong answer because my data is in different order. So rather what I'll do is I will simply keep the data in a different format if I wanted to perform some if in this case. But what I'll do is I'll use a different formula in this case, index, and I will match this with not at a row level but at a column level. I will match all these things with zero things. Sorry, it should be zero. What I'll simply do is I'll sum everything here. So see here, the sum of apple is 148. What if I change this into Microsoft? It gives me 225. What if I change this into Google? It tells me 156. What if it is Salesforce? It gives me 300. Now let's validate this. Now I'm going to create the total here, but I will add thick borders so we can see the difference. Now see what happens. I will use some formula to achieve the overall value of all these things, and I'll simply pass the formula to show the values as output. Maybe I'll choose the same format like how we have it here so that I can see the output distinguishedly. See here what it says. It says the total sales in Salesforce is 300. When we did the sum formula, it again gives us the same exact value, proving that we are right. Now, talking about the next drop down, if I choose Apple, Apple is 148, which is exactly the same thing that we were able to generate separately. But if I wanted to change it into Microsoft, it gives me 225. If I wanted to change into Google, it gives me 156 and so on. So basically, we will be able to perform this operation of storing the data. Where are we storing the data here? We are actually storing the data in this case. Okay, this particular table has information about different companies and the sales happened in all those companies. Then I'm performing a calculation here which will tell me what is the overall sales of our particular company basis selection. Now this is exactly what an Excel does. It stores data and calculates things for us. In order to format, we will be using bold and Italian underscore, and we can also use borders, all side borders and light borders, thick borders. We can change the background color, we can change the foreground color, increase the font size and all those things. Now let's see how to increase the size of the font. Say for an example, I wanted to increase the size of this. I can simply choose the small greater E here. Here you can see that it gets increased automatically. Once I increase the size of the font, it automatically does not auto adjust. It does not read the complete name of the company. It also does not show the complete name of the company. In order to show everything properly formatted, what we can do is we can go to the format option, choose auto fit column width. If I give auto fit column width, it automatically identifies what are the values and the header in the column and what is the space that is required to show the information. Then it will show me Apple, MS, Google and Microsoft. But in this particular column, we have lost total sales in, which is not completely visible. So I'll also ask the machine to auto fit that value and auto fit this value as well. Salesforce being the biggest one, I'll ask the machine to keep it that way so it will be easy for us to access the values if and when required. If I wanted to reduce the size, I can use this. That also I can do. In order to achieve this operation, I can simply choose everything and say auto fit column width, and then I'll also ask the machine to fit the row width if you don't want it to have different formatted values in your screen. This is all about formatting, all this alignment and font and border and the fill. I'll explain. All these things are this much only. Talking about fill function, let me create a new sheet. Now I wanted to create IDs. Okay, I wanted to create IDs for 100 people. It should start from 1, it should end with 100. We cannot, as a human being, we will be able to you know pass the value for each and every cell and execute an output out of it. In order to do it, what we have to do is, rather, instead of writing it for 100 cells, we will write it for first few cells. And what we can do is, we can actually drag this. The plus symbol appears, right? Once the plus symbol appears, we can actually drag this till 100. It will tell you what is the value that we are seeing here: 78, 84, 94, 95, 96, 97. Yeah. If I just leave it here, it automatically fills it as 100. Autofill, just by adding the first two three lines, so it will understand the pattern. Or if you don't wanted to write a pattern, if you wanted to create values, what you can do is, you can write this, you can simply choose this and then say fill option. In fill option, you can say choose series function, where you will say the start value should be the step value should be 1, basically 1, and then 2, and then 3. Every step there should be an increase in 1. Then I should stop this value at 100. Since I have not selected everything, see what happens here. I'll select the entire row behind this, column behind this, choose series, and then I'll say stop this increase when it reaches the value 100. Now let's go and see the last value. See here, it has stopped till 100. We can autofill things as well. This is for numbers. What suppose if you wanted to autofill characters at places, you might want to know that as well. In order to do numbers, say characters, there is no straightforward way, but there is a shortcut to it. What we have to do is, we have to start numbers from 65 to 66, and then we'll have to keep it for 26 line items. Let me see how many line items we have. We have 24. I'll keep to move. I think 24 is enough. Let's see. Now what we have to use is, we have to use the character function, which will return us A for 65 and Z for 90, 89, 90. See here, by default it gives me ABC starting from starts from A and ends till Z. 26 characters are printed, but what you have to do is, there is no straightforward way of achieving it. So you should start or have a number series starting from 65 till 90. Then what you have to do is, you have to just use a character function, in char function, which will retrieve us the value. If I wanted to have the next set of characters, A B, A C, and all those things, I just need to extend this till how much so ever I wanted to have it. I'll simply choose this, and I'll show you what happens in that particular case. Here see, once ABC capital is over, it gives you the special characters, then it starts with small ABC till Z, then it goes on to next set of characters. Now if I wanted to have AA and AB, then I'll simply choose +1. Okay, I think I have to use. Okay. For subsequent values, I'll tell you another answer, but in this case, we will be able to achieve all the special characters in a series as well. That is what it actually does in terms of formatting. Well, that brings us to the end of this particular class. So let me quickly recap what we have learned and explain this accordingly. Now, talking about Excel, we learned about the spreadsheet. What is a spreadsheet and how a spreadsheet gets generate, how the spreadsheet is understood. Spreadsheet is simply nothing but the idea of matrix. The idea of matrix is simple: anything that is present in rows into columns. We saw about columns, we saw about rows, we also saw about cells, and we saw about ribbon. What are the different ribbons and what are the prominent actions that we can do from each ribbon. Then we learned about different data types: numbers, decimals, fractions, scientific, percentage, date, time, and all those things. And talking about formatting, we were able to format a particular table as an input. So we took a data which is not formatted and we were able to format it using border, using font color, using foreground color, background color, and we were able to change the alignment in which the data is supplied and all those things neatly formatted. And then what else we did was tried to calculate or perform a particular operation using that stored data, which is the idea of Excel also. It basically stores the data and performs an operation, which is basically a calculation out of it. Talking about formatting, that is what we did. So that brings us to the end of the class. Thank you so much for joining this class. Please don't forget to share, like, share and subscribe to this particular YouTube channel. We'll see you in the next class. Thank you so much.